Over the course of that week or so, Ms. Reed did explain her feelings about her relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, correct? In text messages.
During the pendency of our communication, she did express, yes.
And she indicated that there's a difference between being married to someone and dating someone, et cetera. We saw those texts. Is that right?
Yes.
She also indicated that in terms of the situation in Aruba, she was upset by that, but it's not that big a deal, correct?
It was clear to me she was upset.
And she said, I don't care too much about that other girl, right?
Well, at least that's what she said in text, yes.
That's what I'm asking you. Is that what she said in text, Mr. Higgins? It's not a trick question.
That's what she said in text.
Right. She said something along the lines of, I'm just trying to be realistic. There's cracks in the relationship. It's far from perfect. Is that right?
I think that's something she texted.
All right. And you'll agree that during the course of these texts, you were constantly asking for clarity and explanation from her, were you not?
During our communication, I did ask for clarity.
Many times.
Yes.
You saw it, correct?
Yes.
And she pretty much wouldn't answer you, correct?
She was non-committal, I would say.
Which is why you were saying in your texts, why won't you answer the question? And she would parry and not answer that one either, correct?
Well, I didn't want to be stuck in the middle of anything.
That's not my question. I'm asking you whether or not she would answer your question about clarity specifically.
She avoided questions about text.
Right. And that was frustrating because you were very interested in her romantically at that point, correct?
I was attracted to her. I don't know that I would say very interested in her.
You texted things like, why did you get my number and reach out? That's a quote from the text we just read, correct?
I did ask that, yes.
You said, now what? Is that right?
Yes.
You texted, so now what? Correct?
Yes.
You texted, I would hang out, meaning with you.
Yes.
Correct? You were showing interest in her.
Yes.
You were showing romantic interest in her.
I wouldn't say it was romantic. I was trying to vet it out.
Well, you weren't seeing if she wanted to go see a ball game with you as a buddy, right?
Not really, no.
No, you were showing romantic interest in her, weren't you?
I was trying to vet out was her interest in me legitimate. It was very normal for me to have that question in my mind when I didn't initiate this, she did. And I think it was a fair question just to try to find out.
You were showing romantic interest in Karen Reed, weren't you?
I was interested, but I don't think I was at the romantic phase.
Okay. When I say romantic, well, what do you mean by romantic? What's the romantic phase?
Sending somebody flowers?
Dating?
Well, there's a difference between dating and hanging out. I mean, it's kind of hard to date somebody when you have a boyfriend.
Mr. Higgins, well, not if both people are dating other people, right? Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Well, I think I asked that question too.
Right. That's not my question. My question is, you seem to have a problem admitting that you had a romantic interest in my client. Is there a reason for that?
I was attracted to her.
Right. Physically attracted.
I thought she was an attractive woman.
Romantically attracted.
I'm not going to go there. No, I don't agree with that.
Of course you're not going to go there because that would put you in a very awkward position, wouldn't it, sir?
Objection.
Not at all.
So the objection sustained is to the form. You can ask it differently, and that answer will be stricken now.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. May I?
Yes.
You were sexually attracted to her.
I was physically attracted to her, yes.
Okay. Sexually attracted to her was my question.
Well, I think in the text I said, you're hot.
Okay. So my question again, Mr. Higgins, you seem to not want to answer my question. My question is, were you or were you not sexually attracted to my client?
Yes.
Okay. You were saying things like, what do you want from me? And I want the real deal. Those are your words, correct?
Yes.
And the real deal with you would be to date her, to get involved with her, romantically, correct?
No.
The real deal was what? What did you mean by I want the real deal?
Like a relationship.
What kind of relationship? A buddy-buddy relationship? You just want to go like...
The same thing everybody wants, a real relationship.
Like a romantic relationship, Mr. Higgins?
It's possible.
Right. And she was answering with things like, when you said, now what? She answered, I don't know, correct?
Yes, she did.
When you asked, so now what? She answered, I'm sorry, when you said, so now what? She answered, now what? Correct?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't agree with you. If I'd like to see what you're referring to.
Well, you just read it about 10 minutes ago. Would you quarrel if
I know, but you're giving me portions of it.
you were given portions of it by Mr. Lally as well,
Okay.
right? Did you text something like, now what? And she responded something like, now what? What?
I think on one occasion she did, yes.
Okay. And you remember you just read a text where she texted, I'm sorry, you texted, what do you want from me? And her responsive text was, I don't know. Correct?
I think that was one of the texts.
Again, with this theme of her being non-committal, one way or the other. Is that right?
Well, that's not how I would interpret it as a theme, no.
Well, didn't you just say she was non-committal? That was your word, not mine.
I did, but as I told you, it's been a process of trying to suss it out and see what this was all about.
Right. So when you were sussing it out and determining whether or not you were going to advance this romantic interest, she was sort of non-committal, wasn't she?
Well, not one person advances it. I think that's a joint thing.
When you texted, you want the real deal, she responded, it doesn't exist, didn't she?
She did, yes.
And she never once in any of those texts expressed anger or hatred toward John, correct?
No, not at all.
But in fact, she indicated more of frustration with the immediate family. The kids, she didn't want to have kids.
In its totality, I would say yes.
And then on January 23rd, as you just saw, she just stopped communicating with you altogether, correct?
Until the 29th, yes.
Correct. Do you know what the term ghosted means?
I think I have a general idea, yes.
She sort of ghosted you, didn't she?
I wouldn't agree with that.
That was frustrating to you, that she just stopped communicating, wasn't it?
No, not at all.
You had been moving through this mindset of exploring a romantic interest with a beautiful woman, thought was interested in you. Just like that, it was done, right?
No.
So what communication did you have with her after January 23rd?
Well, she texted me on January 29th.
You keep saying that, but you know what I'm getting to. January 29th was her informing you that a tragedy had occurred. John had died, right? I'm not talking about that, Mr. Higgins, so I don't want to keep playing games.
All right, so that's what we talked about. No more of
Sorry,
that.
after the 23rd, or up to the 23rd, she had been texting back and forth with you pretty regularly. You just saw it, correct?
She also sent me a text with arrows saying the phone works both ways.
And as of the 23rd, she stopped, didn't she?
The texts were sporadic over those 9 days. I don't know if they would have stopped or they would have kept going.
Well, they didn't keep going, did they?
Well, John passed away.
You know they didn't keep going because from the 23rd onto the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, all the way to the 29th, she never texted you, right?
I believe so.
She didn't respond to any of your texts, correct?
Well, she didn't respond to the text on the 28th Friday.